From the Oklahoman newsroom, it's time for another Thunder Thursday. I'm Jenny Carlson here in studio with our Thunder coverage team. I'm joined by columnist Barry Trammell, Thunder beat writer Eric Horn, Thunder beat writer Brett Dawson. And guys, it seems like we shouldn't have much to talk about during the offseason, the height of the offseason really for the Thunder, and yet we continue to have interesting things to talk about. We'll get to uniforms in a second. Always a topic that fans are willing to talk about and debate about. But let's start with Russell Westbrook. It's been an active summer for him, lots of award shows, but obviously the one thing that Thunder fans would like to see him do is sign that extension, that big deal that he could do, the Mega Max that's out there. Eric, there's probably no way to know. Russell Westbrook's very private. The Thunder are very private. But do we get a sense of where things stand? There's no negotiation. The Thunder's going to give him everything that they can, right?
Yeah, he stands to have the largest contract in NBA history. Whenever he signs it, it'll be in upwards of $235 million for 6 years. And, you know, it's one of those things where you're hearing he could sign anytime in the next couple of weeks. It's one of those things where you're hearing he has no incentive to sign. People are hearing the exact opposite. I think it's probably somewhere in between. And I would imagine that the Thunder feels good about the situation that they're in right now. They're confident that he could potentially sign this contract soon. It's the last big block in the Thunder's offseason. They've done such a good job up to this point, you know, bringing in Paul George, signing guys like Patrick Patterson and Raymond Felton to fill out the rotation. So the next step is Russell Westbrook, and the Thunder for now feels good about their position with him.
Let's talk about benefits to doing this deal, and then let's play devil's advocate and talk about why he might either wait or not sign this. Brett, let's start with the why he does this. If you're Russell Westbrook and you're thinking, I'm ready to get the pen, put it to paper, what are the positives for Russell Westbrook?
One positive is you'll be the highest paid player in the history of a league that pays people pretty well. So $235 million over the course of it, that includes the year that he still has left on his contract, would make him the richest guy in the history of the league. That's a positive. The other big positive from Westbrook's standpoint, there are a lot of positives from the Thunder's perspective, but the other one from Westbrook's standpoint is if you go ahead and sign it, you lock it in, if you want to be here, this clears the path. The Thunder don't have to think about whether it's time to trade you, whether they have to look at doing something by the deadline. They don't have to think about aligning you and Paul George. You're locked in, and they know you're going to be here, and that's the other advantage. It's stability and it's money.
Is there anything else to the pros list that Russell Westbrook could make out, Barry, in your mind?
Well, I mean, I think if Russell, like Brett said, if Russell Westbrook wants to stay in Oklahoma City, to me, it's a great sign to the rest of the world that, hey, the Thunder's a force. This is a place that's going to be competitive. This is a place that is going to be in the hunt, and it's a sign to other players, hey, come play with me. You know, the idea that you don't know about Westbrook's future, that's that's got to be in everybody's mind. But if he signs on, then all those doubts are removed.
All right, devil's advocate time, guys. Why not? Why wait? Why not sign at all? I mean, Eric, you get to start. What's in your mind, especially if he would want to wait but potentially sign it later? What are the pros to that?
Well, there's plenty of incentives to waiting. I mean, first of all, the Paul George situation. Mm-hmm. Paul George is a guy who's going to be going into free agency in 2018. Westbrook might want to wait and see what Paul George is going to do. They might want to have conversations throughout the season, see how the season goes with them playing together, and then figure out their future from there. Westbrook can sign the same contract he's being offered now as a free agent in 2018 when he could potentially opt out of the final year of his deal that he has currently in place. And this is one that I've kind of been thinking about over the past few days, but Russell Westbrook's never been a free agent. A lot of times these guys just want to go through the process of free agency. Kevin Durant hadn't ever been a free agent. He'd been with the Thunder his entire career. Typically guys who are those max salary types of players, they sign their second contract with the team that drafted them without hesitation. Russell Westbrook might like the option of being able to explore his options. And to be a free agent for the first time at 29 years old, that might be something that's enticing to Russell Westbrook.
Yeah, and I mean, the deal will be, as Eric mentioned, Brett, the deal will still be available to Russell Westbrook come free agency in 2018. So for him, the option still exists. Now, where the Thunder comes down if he hasn't signed at that point is a whole different situation.
Well, that's where it gets tricky for the Thunder because you got to make a decision. Are you going to risk getting to free agency and risk him walking for nothing? Do you have to think about trading him during the course of this season? So it does get a little bit dicey for them. And look, there are some disadvantages for the Thunder, if you really want to admit it, to a 5-year contract for Russell Westbrook too. He's going to be 29. Because of the way he plays, the effort, the energy he exudes, we don't know what he's going to look like at 34. So you're locking him into a very long contract. You could be tied to that contract even if Paul George leaves. You would be tied to it, and you don't know exactly. You could put yourself back in a situation last year where you've got Russell Westbrook, and you're trying to piece a team together around him that doesn't look much like a contender, and you're locked into that for a pretty long time. The Thunder obviously is going to take that risk. They'd rather have him signed on, but there are some pros and cons both ways in terms of a 5-year deal, 6-year ultimately deal.
Brett brings up a good point, Barry, about where Russell Westbrook would be at the end of this deal. He's a guy that's always changed his game, maybe not in vast ways, but year to year we see him improve, whether it's passing or whether it's shooting or whatever. My guess is that he's going to change his game, evolve his game as he gets older. I'm not asking you to guess what he's going to look like at 34, but it is a risk, as Brett said, but it seems like he's a guy that the way his career arc has gone, he's more likely, or he's one of those guys that you think he'll figure it out to be an effective player at 34.
Well, there's two guys to sort of look at in this sense. One's LeBron James. When you think about the greatest athletes in NBA history, LeBron's certainly at the top or near the top, and Westbrook is in that group as well. LeBron has aged well. I mean, he's still doing marvelous things. He may not be the physical marvel that he was 2 or 3 years ago, but I'm not going to be the one to tell him he's not, because he looks pretty good to me. So if Westbrook can age like LeBron aged, that's a very good thing. A guy who did not keep his physical marvelness into his 30s very well was Dwayne Wade. I mean, Dwayne Wade at the age of 24 was just an unbelievable athlete, but now here he is in his 30s and still a really good player, and he's more savvy than he is a fantastic athlete. He doesn't fly through the air with the greatest of ease. He plays on the hardwood and still gets things done. If Russell Westbrook can be like either one of those two guys, he's going to be fine at 33, 34. Now, does he just fall off the cliff? That's possible, but I think it's unlikely.
Yeah, he doesn't seem physically like he's a guy that's taken I mean, he takes risks on the court, but he's done a lot to maintain his physique, good eating habits, I mean, all that sort of stuff. He's been very conscientious of all that. Guys, last thing on Westbrook's contract, more likely that he doesn't do this signing before the season starts, or more likely it happens within the next week or 10 days? Brett, what do you think?
I still think more likely that he does, at least does it before the season starts. It's hard to put a timetable on it because, look, the thing is there and he can sign it whenever he wants. He's not the only guy sitting on one of these contracts. It's funny, we were at the Big Three in Tulsa a couple of weeks ago. Brian Scalabrine, who hosts a radio show on NBA Sirius XM, was saying, like, how could you have a piece of paper just sitting there that somebody's going to pay you $200 million and it's not the first thing you do? But these guys have a different life than Brian Scalabrine or you or me. So, I still think I think there's a great deal of optimism around the Thunder that he's going to sign it. I still think he'll do it before the season starts. But again, it's Russell Westbrook. He's a little bit of an enigma, and we don't know exactly what's going to happen.
Eric, what's your best guess?
Well, I think he still signs it, but I think my thoughts of him signing it more so than not signing, I guess a percentage, if you wanted to say, kind of dropped. And just kind of thinking about the different options he could do. If he gets to free agency, he could potentially sign a deal that's not 5 years. If he gets to free agency, he could sign maybe a short-term deal, a 2-year deal, or a 2-year deal with an option, a 3-year deal. Some of these guys don't want to be locked into 5 years anymore. You see guys like LeBron James and Kevin Durant that are basically taking year-to-year deals with a player option for a second year. Russell Westbrook might be a guy in that situation. He's at the point in his career where he's making a lot of money off the court. He's not as strapped for money as some of these other guys in the league, just being a guy that's so marketable and that has so many opportunities coming at him just day after day. So Russell Westbrook, by all accounts, is a guy who takes care of his money well. He's got more money than he knows what to spend with, that he knows what to do with already. So he might be a guy that might say, I want to take the short-term look, keep the Thunder kind of honest, see them continue to build around me and make sure that we're maximizing my time here rather than lock in 5 years and the Thunder, or lock in 6 years and have the Thunder potentially get complacent. Not that the Thunder would get complacent. I don't think they would. They've been very proactive throughout the time that Russell Westbrook's been here in the past 2 years. Engineering the Victor Oladipo trade before Kevin Durant left, engineering the Paul George trade. But a short-term deal is something that I think might be more of a possibility in the summer to come than it was when all this started this offseason.
Barry, what do you think? Are we still in a mode where signing within the next couple weeks is more possible than waiting until 18, or are you thinking a variation on a theme might happen here?
I tend to think Russell's going to sign, and here's my thinking. If he knows he's going to stay or wants to stay, then you sign it. If you're going to stay in Oklahoma City, there's no reason to risk. Take the security, sign that long contract, and then you're going to get paid no matter what. No matter what might befall you.
A Jones fracture,
a Paul George
yeah.
broken leg, a torn, rupture your Achilles like Rudy Gay or somebody. You're fine. So if he wants to stay, then I'd sign it. If he's not sure, then you don't sign it. But I tend to think he's going to stay, and I sort of look at it pragmatically. I think Russell Westbrook would look bad if he left, because he sort of turned it into a holy war with Kevin Durant for Durant leaving, and all Durant did was leave. He really didn't. He didn't burn any bridges, except with Russell Westbrook maybe when he left. So I think Russell would look a little disingenuous if he left too, after sort of being so PO'd at Kevin Durant. So I tend to think Russell's going to stay. If you're going to stay, you sign your name.
I love any video that includes Barry saying PO'd, okay? Let me just be on record as saying that.
Or Holy War.
Holy War.
Yeah.
And the same answer, for crying out loud, folks. Hey, you're watching Thunder Thursday. We've been talking about Russell Westbrook and his potential contract extension, what might happen there. Maybe the only other subject that'll get Thunder fans more fired up than what's happening with Russell Westbrook is jerseys. Guys, Brett and Eric especially, you've well chronicled what is about to happen. Nike is taking over the jerseys. Adidas had the contract before, so some redesign. The alternates that they had been using, they're out because Nike's going to redesign the alternates. But Brett, let's start with the jerseys that we'll see most of the time. Blue, white, likely to not be called home and road anymore, sort of doing away with those designations. But the jerseys themselves are going to stay pretty largely the same, do we think?
We think so. We haven't seen designs of what the Thunder's doing, but the idea is that they'll be based on what they've been, since the Thunder has been here, the home white and the road blue. Those designations are gone. I think one is called the Association Edition and one is called the Icon Edition now. Home teams will have their choice now, and that's been a trend in the NBA anyway. You've seen some teams wearing colors at home, so that's just really it's making a rule change that has already kind of been happening. So teams are going to have the flexibility to choose whatever color they want at home. Once they have 4 jerseys, which eventually everybody will, you'll be able to choose any of those 4 at home, and then the road team will have to pick the contrasting. They'll have to wear their white if you're wearing a color, whatever the case may be. What we think is going to happen with these initial Thunder jerseys, and people who are really excited about the change, you might not see a lot of change in these first 2. You're going to see a Nike edition of what the Thunder has already been wearing. So it's going to be mostly the same colors and mostly the same design, we think. Some tweaks. The Nike uniforms are tailored differently. They're made differently. So they're going to look different, but you won't see a big dramatic change. Where you see the big change is a little bit later, at least one time closer to Christmas, and we don't know exactly when the other one will come, but those 2 alternates that are to come at some point this year.
And we'll get to the alternates in a second with you, Eric, but let me get your thoughts on this, Barry. I've heard some people say that they would like to see something more exciting, for lack of a better word, with those home and away, the ones we see most of the time. What do you think? Are the Thunder jerseys boring?
Oh, I think they're fairly staid, I would say, S-T-A-I-D, sort of just so-so. I think that's the way the Thunder wants them. I don't think the Thunder wants to look like the 1978 Capitol Bullets, for crying out loud. So I think it's what they want, and cutting edge for the Thunder were those orange jerseys.
Yeah.
I mean, that was, especially in a market where the loyalties are split between red and orange, and to come out on the side of the orange, which in truth is sort of the minority faction, probably 30 to 40% OSU fans compared to greater OU fans. So I'm interested in why Nike, how much was Nike involved, or how much was this just the Thunder using this opportunity to retreat from the orange and saying, you know what, we tried it, we got a lot of pushback from it, maybe we need to get out of the orange and red business.
Well, and I wrote about this today, so I'll do a little shameless plug. I thought "Orange is sad" should have been the headline, folks, because
it was a good one.
I'm sad about this. And yes, Orange crushed that these jerseys are going away. But Eric, this is news that you actually broke, because as Brett mentioned, with this Nike redesign, every team is going to get 2 alternates this year. Every year, it sounds like at around Christmas time, Thanksgiving time, every team will get an alternate. I would say probably to try to get holiday jersey sales, which would figure. But even at that, these 2 jerseys that are yet to be determined, at least publicly, for the Thunder and every other team, but the Thunder is not going to have an all-orange look, and it sounds like that's probably a decision that the Thunder decided, let's get away from the orange for a little bit, right?
Yeah, I'm not entirely sure how the decision came about, but what I know is a lot of things that came with the Adidas jerseys aren't going to be in place with the Nike jerseys. One of them is going to be the sunset's going to be out. The sleeve jerseys are going to be out that some people didn't like. I personally thought they looked pretty cool. Hey, why are you clapping? I like those.
Not a fan. I'm glad to see him go.
Russell Westbrook liked those. They wore those white sleeve jerseys a ton.
You gonna start dressing like Russell Westbrook? You gonna start wearing the things that he likes to wear?
I don't wear jerseys.
Oh, I thought we had the picture of him in the ripped up pants and the shirt showing his.
Yeah, he's showing his abs to fight racism. Look.
Yeah.
Russell Westbrook makes a lot of the jersey decisions around here. I think we determined that. Anthony Slater actually reported on that a couple of playoffs ago, and it was pretty interesting how Russell Westbrook is kind of the secret jersey whisperer around Thundertown. But in addition to the 2 normal jerseys they're going to have a jersey. Every team in the league is going to have a jersey that's based off of the player input. And then they're also going to have a jersey that's based kind of off of the community that whatever team plays in. So you're going to see a jersey that's really like Oklahoma City centric. It might have some Oklahoma City accents, things that people in Oklahoma City are familiar to. And a cool thing that Nike is doing is every year they're going to come out with a different jersey for all 30 teams around that holiday season. So it's going to be an anticipation to that, sort of like a shoe release. So no, don't call it a Christmas jersey. It's just going to be released during that time of the year. And then it's going to be a jersey. The 4th jersey is going to be something that they can wear continually throughout the season. So hopefully Russell Westbrook has some input on that too, so you don't see it once instead of numerous times. And hopefully Russell Westbrook likes the jersey as well.
And then that Christmas jersey idea is kind of interesting too, Brett.
Yeah, because what you used to get is those teams that played on Christmas would get a one-time Christmas jersey. And those have been great in the last couple of years, by the way. The best years ever in the history of those NBA Christmas jerseys. The ones that Thunder wore this past year at home were fantastic. Those have been really good. So, yeah, that's going to be an interesting change. Actually, you've been able to buy jerseys for the other teams that didn't play on Christmas, but they never wore them. So this will be now, instead of a Christmas time jersey, you're going to have a jersey that just goes into your rotation at Christmas. That'll be a little different. I'm excited to see. I think everybody's excited to see what happens. I'll offer this take on, here's my fashion take on Oklahoma City jerseys. All of them, every one of them should go to OKC. Do away with Oklahoma City.
I think that's one of the things that I liked best about the orange, the sunset jerseys, was the boldness of OKC across the front. Frankly, I like the road jerseys, the blue with Oklahoma City on it, because it does, promote the city. But the OKC, such a central rallying cry to this team. I loved the boldness of OKC, sort of like PHX. Phoenix goes. It's a little weird, to have the airport sign sort of be your letters, but I don't know what else you do in that instance. But Barry, when Eric was talking about the city-centric or the player-centric jerseys, I saw you kind of, I don't know, not turn up your nose, but sort of raise your eyebrows, maybe?
No, I think he's right. I think Russell Westbrook is calling all the fashion shots. Maybe Russell's the one that doesn't like the orange. Maybe he was tired of the orange. I got to believe that if Russell Westbrook liked orange jerseys, they'd still be having orange jerseys here. I got to believe that if Nike or the NBA office or anybody else said, hey, we don't want you to wear something Russell Westbrook likes, that the Thunder would be marching down the streets of Midtown Manhattan as we speak.
I gotta say though, like the great regular season moment of his life in that jersey.
There you go. That's exactly
this is game, triple-double 42. He hits the shot that wins the game in Denver. Eric, you were there. This is him in the orange jersey is going to be something we're going to see for many years to come, frankly.
Yeah, and in that caption, actually, you can't see it, but Russell was yelling, "This is the last time I will ever wear this jersey." in that caption, I heard it. It was very obvious. Yeah, it was very easily heard in the quiet of the Denver crowd. That's why he's celebrating. He's like, "Thank goodness
we're done.
I don't have to wear this jersey anymore.
He's done.
We're done."
Well, you know though. He's a guy who always says he never wears anything twice. You know, he never wears an outfit twice. So the fact that he had, I mean, these were Sunday jerseys, obviously, Sunset Sundays. I think they won 8 games in them this year, lost some Sunday games in them, but they wore these jerseys a lot. I mean, they may not have been the most worn jerseys, but had a lot of Sunday games that they wore those orange. So maybe he just got tired of wearing the orange so much, Brett. I don't know.
He's got to wear stuff more. He's got maybe he only wears each jersey one time. Like maybe he just gives that one away and then he gets a brand new orange one.
It will be interesting though to see what these alternate jerseys, what they are, guys, because Thunder Blue has become well accepted amongst Thunder colors. Obviously the white, but then, you know, are they navy? What are they? I mean, because this sunset orange is kind of the other color. There's some yellow in the logo.
I was gonna say, isn't yellow a color? Maybe they'll do some more yellow.
Possible.
Maybe they'll do some navy and throw some yellow in there.
I don't think navy.
Maize and blue.
I don't think navy would be an issue. I just thought that the design of the navy jersey that they pretty much squashed the last year that Kevin Durant was here in the playoffs after they got blasted in San Antonio in Game 1 of the Western Conference semis. I thought that was a good color. It's just the design of it was strange with the vertical Thunder. That was a little odd.
Yeah. Okay. Last topic, guys. Another kind of a passionate topic for Thunder fans. Nick Collison. He has done a 1-year deal with this team. There was, Eric, you wrote about this. I remember, you know, Nick Collison wanted to play, and there's not an obvious opportunity to play on this Thunder team with the youth that they have. Why did this deal get done? Why is he back with the Thunder, Brett?
Well, I think it's one, the Thunder wanted him to be back. If he was going to go anywhere, if he was going to be in the NBA, the Thunder wants it to be here. I don't know if the opportunity to play existed somewhere else either. I don't know how much opportunity there was going to be for him. You know, he's been kind of a designated guy in certain situations. He's a situational player now. When they played Memphis, he played. When they play the Clippers, he'll play. He's going to get that backdoor assist. That's what he is. But if he's going to finish it out, if this is going to be his last year, and he's sort of indicated on Instagram that this is going to be it, I think they didn't want to miss the opportunity for that to be here, for them to get to say goodbye. And really, too, I think for him and for them, the idea of once they got Paul George and Patrick Patterson and Raymond Felton, I think the idea both for the Thunder and for Collison of him sticking around to finish it out with a really good team was appealing to both sides.
You know, and Eric, I know Thunder fans, they love Nick Collison. They cheer for him whenever he gets a chance to play. They do love Nick Collison, but even at that, I'm not sure Thunder fans maybe, and we probably don't either, but we may have a little bit more appreciation of the impact that he has on the franchise, on the practices, on the locker room. I mean, can you sort of put into context maybe some of the appreciation that Sam Presti, Troy Weaver, Russell Westbrook, the guys that are around him every day have for him?
I think you could start with Russell Westbrook. He's a guy who always speaks highly of Nick Collison. I particularly remember a moment this season where Russell Westbrook hit a referee unintentionally in the head with a ball, and Westbrook was pretty fuming at getting a technical because he didn't mean for that to happen in Charlotte. And Nick Collison was one of the guys who went over and kind of cooled off Russell during that moment. Nick Collison is that type of guy. He's essentially been an assistant coach for the past 3 or 4 years anyway, a player coach, and a guy that is really critical to the Thunder's locker room. And he's really valued within that organization. He's a friend of Sam Presti. He's a friend of guys in the communications department, and he's a friend to the most veteran guy on the team besides him, Russell Westbrook. And I think for that reason alone, being a guy that can talk to Russell Westbrook and Russell Westbrook can relate to, I think that's a big reason they kept him around as well. And not to mention they got him on a little bit more of a discount than he was playing for last season as well. He's going to be playing for the veteran minimum this year at $2.3 million. Last season he was making around $3.7 million. So they get the guy back on a little bit of a discount while he's still probably not going to play much because they've got guys that need to play like Jeremy Grant, Enes Kanter, Patrick Patterson that can play that power forward position. Nick Collison's value is greater to the Thunder than it probably would have been in other places in the league.
Barry, if this is Nick Collison's last season in the short pants, Does he wear the long pants for the Thunder after this year? Do you see him in a coach, scouting, some sort of role with the Thunder after this season?
I think that's what the Thunder would like. I have no idea what Nick would like to do, but I think the Thunder, and this contract to me is symbolic of that they value having Nick Collison around. He's not going to help them win games on game night in terms of being on the court and doing stuff. But it's clear that they value Nick Collison as a person and his contributions to team chemistry and leadership and those things. This is a guy that you wouldn't sign him. There were a lot of reasons not to sign Nick Collison. Keep a roster spot open in case something came through. Maybe go with 14 guys on the roster and stay or try to get under the luxury tax easier. But they made the decision to bring him back because they value having him around. And I don't know why that value would stop after this season.
I'm like you, Barry. I don't know what he wants to do, but I think he still has a home in Seattle. If he would want to live in Seattle, I mean, he could be an advanced scout. He could be in the scouting realm. He wouldn't necessarily have to be in Oklahoma City a bunch, but I think Sam Presti has long said, when I find people that I want to work for me, I will figure out a way to create a job, make a situation, make it work. I don't know if there's ever been a guy that Sam Presti will work harder to make a situation work than Nick Collison. I mean, as you said, this contract may not have been the smartest move for the Thunder, but I think this is just a sign that at some point they're going to figure out a way to make Nick Collison remain on the payroll, even if he's not in a Thunder jersey. All right, that's it for Thunder Thursday. Lots to talk about today, and there will be next week as well, so be sure to stay with the best coverage team anywhere at newsok.com and every day in the Oklahoman.